It's Higginbotham against Gordon. Finish from Higginbotham. That took confidence.
Hello and welcome to the third episode of the LBView podcast. I'm delighted to say we have former Dunfermline, Motherwell, Kilmarnock, Partick Thistle and current Celtic Hearts winger Kallum Higginbotham. Kallum, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Delighted to be on your podcast. Thanks for inviting me on, and look forward to what questions you've got for me, pal.
Thank you. First, we'll start with your lockdown experience. Lockdown was different to many people, but for you, you were stuck thousands of miles away from home for several months.
Yeah.
Talk us through your lockdown experience in India.
Like you've just stated, mate, it was, a lot different to my close ones that was around me, i.e. my partner and that back in Scotland. I was basically locked down in a hotel for 9 weeks, wasn't allowed out of the grounds of the hotel. Nobody was allowed in the grounds of the hotel. And, I know it was tough for everybody, but, I think my situation was just a unique, scenario, mate. And one that, was very tough mentally more than anything, mate. Some days you would be upbeat and, be hopeful that you're going to get home. Then other days, you'd miss the flight and you wasn't on that flight getting back home, and, your mindset would just completely change. And, there was days I wouldn't get out of my room. I'd try and go to bed as late as possible, so I would wake up the next day as late as possible. It was horrendous, mate, and it pretty much, dampened my whole experience in India. For what it was an amazing experience, but then 9 weeks of lockdown was, just mentally tortured, and that pretty much dampened my whole experience, mate, to be honest with you.
Did Real Cashmere support you through these tough times with, with the hotel, or were you in a hotel, or did they?
No, because obviously the hotel I was staying in, the owner of the football club, he owned the hotel, so
Okay.
they couldn't do enough for us. The owner was absolutely brilliant. Working behind the scenes tirelessly to try and get us back on, the repatriation flights that the UK government was putting on, but he could only do so much. It was down to the government to do their part, and eventually we got home, but like I was saying, 9 weeks I felt was just a little bit too long.
So we'll start a bit about your youth career. What are your first memories of playing football?
Oh, Jesus. Well, I'm 31 now, so I'd always, growing up, mate, I'd always had a ball at my feet. Whether I was out on the streets with my pals or wherever I was, mate, I'd always have a ball under my arm, and football was just everything to me. To be honest, I didn't really think I would ever make it as a footballer. I just loved the game of football. Like I said, growing up through high school, was always football daft and football mad. And when I left school, I started a scaffolding apprenticeship. So I never went through academies growing up. I'd always only played Sunday League, and I started playing men's football when I was 15 years of age, open age, and I think my talent just shone through from an early age. I think you're either born with that dedication, you want it, or you don't want it, and I'm just lucky enough that I had that dedication. I want it.
Yeah. Was there a player you looked up to when you were growing up?
I always went to the Man United games. Growing up, my era was, looking back, probably watching Rooney when he first came, and obviously before that, you had the Beckhams. Class of '92 was a great era, but I never really focused on one individual player. But if I had to choose one, it probably would be Rooney from my early days.
So your first professional club that you joined was Oldham Athletic, who you joined in Salford. Was joining a professional club your dream from a young age?
Yeah, like I said, I always wanted to be a footballer. whether I truly believed I would make it is a different, a different matter. So when I got that opportunity, like I just said, I was working as a scaffolder, labouring at a scaffolding firm, and I was playing open age. Obviously, I was playing at Salford City, but it wasn't the club that they are now. It was just a semi-professional club. And a scout come down to watch me in a final one time, and played really well in that game. And he asked me to come in for a 2-week trial. So I obviously went in for the 2-week trial, and then they offered me a contract off the back of that. So it was a big decision because I was earning not amazing money, but I was earning good money as a scaffolder, and then I was dropping down to what it was then was £40 a week or £50 a week. I can't remember what it was, but it was a decision that I took, and the rest is history, so they say. And I've been a footballer ever since.
So after a successful spell in the reserve team for Oldham, you didn't make a senior appearance, but then it led to you joining Rochdale, where you made your senior debut, and then you became a regular player for the rest of that season. How did it feel making your professional debut for Rochdale?
Oh, it was unbelievable, mate. It's like you said, I had a really good season at Oldham. It was only youth team level, and I didn't get offered a professional contract. So I didn't expect to do me out or think that was the end. The day I got released from Oldham, I got a phone call from Rochdale to say, we've got a game tonight for the reserves. Would you like to come down and trial in it? And straight away I jumped in the car and just crossed over and went to the game. And after that game they offered me a contract, just a 1 year, first year, pro contract. And I just got my head down, knuckled down, and like you said, I eventually, made my debut in that season and went on to have a very good, first campaign. Made quite a lot of appearances at such a young age, and I think that year we got to Wembley in the playoffs. Unfortunately we got beat by Stockport that year, but it was a great year for me, and one that I look back on with fond memories. And it was certainly kick-started my career to make my debut at such a young age and get that love for the game basically, and something I wanted to do for the rest of my life was to be a professional footballer.
Brilliant. So after the next season, you spent two loan spells out on loan at Accrington Stanley, and then you returned. But in total, you made 8 appearances for Rochdale, including helping them gain promotion. Would you say there was anyone at Rochdale, Oldham, or Salford that helped influence you into the player you are today?
I wouldn't say influence me. I've always been quite a unique person. I've always believed in my own ability. Put me on any pitch and I will always tell you I'm the best player. I maybe not be the best player, but I've always believed, that I'll go out on the pitch and shine and be the best player. So I wouldn't say anybody influenced me into being the player I am today, but, I've certainly had a lot of characters and influences over my career, that have, helped me in different areas of my life and different, parts of my career when needed. And, the manager at the time, Keith Hill, he was, such a massive influence, and also the assistant at the time, Dave Flitcroft. Them two was, brilliant for me. Something that I needed at a young age. They looked after the young boys in the squad and give the chance to the young boys. It wasn't a case of, oh, you're too young yet, you're not ready. If you was good enough, they would throw you into the first team and give you that chance. So, if there was anyone at an early age of my career, I would say them two, mate.
So after 3 seasons in and out of the team at Rochdale, you signed a 2-year deal in the summer of 2010 with Falkirk. How did your moving off the border come about?
Well, my time was up at Rochdale. The manager, it wasn't a case of falling out. He just said, I believe you need to go a different direction. Things are not quite working out here how I imagine they're going to work out. And, I think you need to wear a different point of view from a different voice, basically. So I just sat at home through the summer and didn't have nothing. And I got a phone call from the FA in England, and they said that Falkirk had been in touch with them, asking could they get hold of my number and was it okay to pass it on. So that was fine. I said absolutely, and then we drove up, had a look around at the stadium, spoke to the manager at the time, which was Stephen Presley. And things just escalated from there, mate. It was obviously a a massive decision for me, you know, to pack my stuff up and move north of the border. But, you know, I've always loved challenges and always loved new, you know, surroundings. And, you know, I jumped at the opportunity basically. And it's probably, you know, one of the best decisions that I've made, to be honest with you.
So a highlight from your year and a half at Falkirk was the 2012 League Cup semi-final at Hampden versus Celtic, where you gained man of the match on that day. That game really put you as a player on the map, you would say. Would you say that was a highlight of your time at Falkirk, or was there another game that stands out?
I would say that 6 months in the second season I was at Falkirk was probably, you know, one of the best periods of my career consistently. You know, we didn't have a very experienced squad. You know, we had loads of young boys. You know, Craig Sibbald, Jay Fulton, Stephen Kingsley. You know, all 16, 17-year-old boys. I was only 19, 20 at the time, and we had an amazing partnership with Farid. You know, he was a foreign boy, come over on trial, and you know, just took to the squad. And me and him had an amazing partnership. But that game in particular, you know, that you're speaking about was one that, you know, pretty much, like you said, put me on the map. I don't think there's many players that would be on the losing side and come away with the man of the match. So I think that speaks volumes of how my performance was on that day. And, you know, it's funny, you know, in the world of football, like, you know, you've got to be in the right time at the right place, so to speak. And, you know, I think the manager of Huddersfield at the time, Lee Clark, had come up to watch, you know, Murray Wallace, because he had a lot of interest from, I think, Crystal Palace and Huddersfield and a few other clubs at the time. So he come up to watch him, you know, and I had probably the game of my career that night. And, you know, the next day was deadline day, and, you know, they put an offer in to get my services. And it just all happened so quick, mate. And, you know, my partner was pregnant at the time, and you know, if I could turn back time now, then I probably wouldn't have made the move, because it wasn't right in the whole picture. But I was just, you know, being selfish and looking at my career and was wanting to go to that next step. And I think, you know, on some levels that's okay, but then, you know, as you get older and you get more wiser, you know, there's a lot more to life than, you know, just football and putting your own selfish views before anything else. And that's just basically what happened at the time, mate. But it was a great game, and like you said, it was one that probably put me on the map, especially in Scottish football anyway.
So as you said, you moved out to Huddersfield in January. One player that stood out in that season for Huddersfield was Jordan Rhodes. How vital was he to that Huddersfield side?
Oh, he was massive. You know, I played with Jordan a few years before that. He come on loan at Rochdale, when he was just a young boy. You know, and I went there, and we had an unbelievable squad for League One. You know, Scotty Arfield was there as well. He moved from Falkirk a couple of years before me. But, you know, his goals proved vital throughout that campaign. You know, I went down there in January, found myself back out on loan because a new manager had come in. You know, and like I say, it's funny how football works. I went out on loan, come back, ended up playing in the playoffs, playing in the playoff final, and you know, we get promotion. So it was a crazy 6 months, mate. It all happened so fast. It was whirlwind sort of stuff, mate. But you know, touching on your question, it was massive that year. You know, with his goals contributed to getting the club promoted.
So as you said, Huddersfield reached the playoff final, where they at Wembley, where they won 8-7 on penalties. You started that game. How special a day was that at Wembley?
Yeah. Oh, it was brilliant, mate. You know, I'd been on the other side of the Wembley defeat. You know, played there for Rochdale, and we got beat off Stockport. You know, so then go back there, you know, get another opportunity, which, you know, play there once was amazing, but to play there again was, you know, unbelievable. And to be on the winning side this time was, you know, absolutely brilliant. You know, and then to then get promotion and, you know, have that on the CV and be part of that was very special and one of the highlights of my career.
So the following season, you found yourself out on loan again, firstly at Carlisle and then returned to Scotland with Motherwell. Now, you've scored some great goals in your career, but one that's up there for probably the best was the one against Hibs, the overhead kick. Would you say that's your favourite goal of your career, or is there another one that you can think of?
No, I've had some really good goals throughout my career, but that's hands down probably the best one. It's probably the most one everyone would pick as well.
Yeah.
Great technique, and great to be able to have that have that on my CV as well, mate. But like you touched on there again, find myself out on loan because I'm always a player that I don't like sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Some players are happy to sit on the bench and just collect the wages. I've always wanted to play regardless. If I need to go out on loan to get game time, then I've not been, afraid to do that. It's not a case of, I don't want to fight from a position.
Yeah.
If I feel as though I'm not going to get that chance, because sometimes that happens in football, you're just not the manager's cup of tea. So to get that game time, you need to go out on loan and prove yourself again. And that's probably why I've had so many different clubs, or I've had so many different loan moves, is because I've always wanted to be playing on a Saturday rather than working all week, training hard and then coming to a Saturday knowing that 90% chance you're not going to be playing, which is it's demoralising.
Yeah. So after leaving Huddersfield, you joined Scottish Premiership side Partick Thistle. You had a really successful time there. What the first season, one game that stands out, Tynecastle away, to keep Partick Thistle in the Scottish Premiership. I think you scored that day. The
Yeah, yeah.
celebration was get a booking.
I did, but I think that was just a build up of emotions over the course of that season, because to be honest, mate, we played really, really well. You know, we played some real, but we just couldn't seem to get the break. We'd have loads of possession throughout games, and then we'd end up conceding in the last minute and getting beat 1-0, or we were just in a dogfight throughout the whole campaign. But playing really good football, everybody was still happy and loving the place. The boys was always together. There was no arguing or nothing. And that night, I think it was the second to last game. We needed to win at Tynecastle, and I think we won 4-2 that night. It was an amazing performance by the boys, and I managed to score like you said, and I think it was just emotions, mate. The top come off. I was jumping up and down in front of the away fans. It was just an amazing night, and one that lives long in the memory, mate, and we'll always look back on and have great memories. Especially at my time at Thistle, I loved every minute of it. But as football tends to happen, I don't think you see many players that stay at clubs their whole career, and that pretty much happened for me as well at Partick. It was time to move on, and I moved on to a different team. But I look back at my time there, and great memories, and a great club, a real family club that I had a great time at.
So, as you said, you moved on to Kilmarnock. One goal that you scored for Kilmarnock was against Celtic, the Panenka penalty.
Yeah.
Against Craig Gordon. What was going through your head at that moment?
I had it in my head, honestly, throughout pre-season. I was like, if I get to take the penalties, regardless of who it's against, I'm gonna chip the first one. It just so happened to be against Celtic, last minute of the game to get us a point, which was brilliant. To do it against Craig Gordon, who's the keeper that he is and the career that he's had. He wasn't that happy after the game. He wouldn't shake my hand after the game, to be honest with you. But it just 9 times out of 10, mate, a goalie's got to dive. They can't just stand there, because if you go to either side of them, they're going to look stupid that they've not tried. So pretty much 9 times out of 10, if you go down the middle, you're going to score. It's just so happened that I chipped it as well, mate. I don't think goalies like that when you do that to him. So but my time at Kilmarnock wasn't good. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I was travelling quite a lot from Edinburgh, and it's a long journey there and back every single day. We had a car school, but we was relegation dogfight all year, and it's no nice when in that winning environment and you're travelling every day, and it just wasn't a great time in my career. And nothing to do with the club, nothing to do with me personally. Just sometimes you don't click with a club, and that pretty much seemed to happen at Kilmarnock. But then, as one door closes, another one opens, and that's when I moved on to Dunfermline.
As you said, you moved on to Dunfermline. Stepping down a league to the Championship, what attracted you to a club like Dunfermline?
I spoke to the manager at the time. It was Alan Johnson, and I just asked, could I come in to keep my fitness ticking over. Obviously, I'd just been paid up my last year on my contract at Kilmarnock, and obviously I didn't have nothing. So he said, "I absolutely come in, train, see how you feel about the place, see if you get a feel for the club, and vice versa, see if they like what they see in me." And I was only in a few days, and he said, "We'd like to sign you if you would, consider coming in." I knew the sides of the club. It's Dunfermline should be in the Championship. They're certainly an SPL team, mate. And I was wanting to go there and try and achieve that for the club. Hands down, my best part of my career had been there. I loved every single minute of being at the club, and the group of boys that I was initially brought into was amazing. They just won the league from League One, I think it was, into the Championship, and the place was just a real good feel about it. And I was delighted once I signed and got it over the line and become a Dunfermline player.
So you spent 3 seasons at Dunfermline. The second season was a really, really successful one for Dunfermline. It could have been better because previously I spoke to James Cragen and Joe Cardo, and they had the same opinion that we should have got promoted that season.
Yeah.
Talk us through that season and what.
Is that the year we got beat Dundee in the playoffs?
Yeah.
See, I think, if we win that game, which hands down we should have won that game. I think Decky goes through 1-on-1 on goal. He scores that 9 times out of 10. And that puts us 2-0 up. And they're never going to recover from that. Never. They sort of had that hoodoo over us that season, mate. Regardless of how well we played against them, we just couldn't seem to beat them, mate. If I'm right in thinking, it was Livingston that we would have played in the next game, and we beat them every time we played them. Fair play to them. They went up and they've gone on to do great things. But I fully believe we would have beat them that year, and then who knows what would have happened in the playoff final against the SPL team. So if that was our chance, I believe I'd go up that year. But I believe they've signed good quality this season, and hopefully they can do it this year. I'll never have a bad word to say about Dunfermline. I loved my time there, and a club that I keep close to my heart, and I'd always hope that they do well, mate.
You loved the goal against Falkirk for Dunfermline, did you not?
I don't, mate. It happened. Where it come from? I was at Kilmarnock and we played Falkirk in the relegation play. You play me on the side, and I was speaking to Scotty Arfield, and he was booing me and all that, and I was like, hey, money. I've come back to Scotland. All right, I've no sign for Falkirk again. I don't even think they was interested in signing me.
Yeah.
So when I signed for I don't understand why the abuse started to happen. It's because of the main rivals. But, they started the abuse, giving me abuse. So when I scored, it was just a case of getting my own back, mate. And it just so happened that I scored quite often against them.
So after leaving Dunfermline, you took a new adventure and you moved to India. How did the move to India come about? Because it's thousands of miles away from home. Like, what was the meaning behind that?
They just got in. The manager at the time is obviously Scottish, David Robertson. He got in touch with me and basically said, I'm working over here. Do you want to take the opportunity to come and play out here? It'd be a great experience. We need someone obviously like you to get us goals, etc. Sold the club to me really well, and was a case of, I've been in Scotland all these years. Why not go and try something different? And I just jumped at it with both hands. Obviously I left my family back over there, which I didn't think at the time would have been that hard. But once over there, after a few months, that became apparent how difficult that was mentally. Not seeing the kids only on FaceTime when the internet worked, because obviously all the trouble happened the day I arrived in India. So phone lines, internet lines, all that sort of stuff was cut off. So it was just from the get-go, mate. It was just backs against the wall, mate. Eh? But what an experience, Paul. I'm delighted I took that experience because it put into perspective everything that I have got back home, mate. When you think life's tough here, I've got that I can look back on and go, it's not really that bad, mate. Give yourself a shake and realise how lucky you are in life and what you have in life. So, it was a great experience, one that I'm delighted I took. And the club is an amazing club. The owner, the manager, and everything about the club is brilliant. They're just fighting against, how to put it, mate. Just fighting against, Indian government, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot goes on behind the scenes. For them to try and run a football club is unbelievable, mate, and they're doing an amazing job. So, I take my hat off to them.
How did you adapt to playing in the Indian Football League instead of the Scottish Premiership? How was it? How much was it different?
I thought I would go out there, mate, and it'd be easy, eh? I thought I would go out there and walk the league, but it's not like that at all, pal. First and foremost, the Indian players are very good technically, strong, fast. And then each team has, 5 foreign players. So, the team that won the league was Mo and Bagan, and they was, all Spanish players. So very good technically, mate, very good on the ball. You got African players out there. So the standard was very, very high, mate. It wasn't a case of going out there and walking the league like I thought anyway, pal. It was a very high standard, and every game was competitive. And the fans and everything just made very good recipe for the league. It was a great league, and just very unfortunate that it got cancelled short because of the COVID. We were sitting third at the time, and I believe we would have finished second. We had a game in hand, and we had not easy games left, but we had games in our favour left. To finish second in the league, and I think that would have enabled us to qualify for the Asia Champions League qualifier. So that would have been some achievement for the club as well.
Yeah. You returned to Scotland with Kelty Hearts. Was the main reason behind joining them due to the ambition of the club and where they want to go as a club?
To be honest with you, mate, when I was in India, on lockdown, I had a lot of time to think to myself. I had a lot of time on my own thinking, where am I going to go with my future? And, it was time, I thought this is the time now where I need to start thinking about life after football, mate. I wanted to get a trade behind me. So I'm currently doing tiling, which, I'm loving every single day, mate. So that's now my main focus, mate. My main focus is to become a tradesman, which then on the back of that enabled me to go part-time. And I don't believe there's a better part-time, run club other than Kelty Hearts at the minute. The professionalism and the direction and the ambition, like you spoke about, from the through the management team right down to the playing squad, mate. It's a championship club, 100%, mate. In terms of quality, what I've seen in training, and you've got the manager, who's Barry Ferguson. He's been unbelievable from day one, and the man and the owner of the club, who wants to take them places, mate. So it's got all the infrastructure and behind the scenes where they want to go with the ambition, and pretty much matched what I want as well, mate, going part time. So it was a great fit for me, Paul.
So the goal for Kelty Hearts will probably be to win the league this season. How far do you think they can go as a club?
Yeah, I think that goes without saying, Paul. I think that's everybody's aim. Not that we've set any targets or, sat down and had discussions, but, with the playing squad that we've got, I think we've got to be aiming to win the league. Very unfortunate last season they won the league and didn't go up because of the pandemic. So, let's hopefully we can put that right this year. And I think, it's hard for me to say where they can go as a club, but, if they keep improving year after year and, the manager stays there and the owner keeps, backing them, then, there's no reason why, they can't climb up the Football League, just like, Cove Rangers have done at the minute. And, hopefully we can follow in the footsteps of them.
Right, final question, Callum. It's a tough one. Who is the best player you've played with in your career so far?
Oh, best player.
Best player. Or most technically gifted player?
I hate questions like this, mate, because I've played with so many, mate.
If you give us a couple, that would be.
I'm trying to think. You put me on the spot, mate. You could have given me this one beforehand, pal, eh? Most technically gifted. Jesus. Mate, I'm snookered there, mate. Absolutely snookered. We'll go Scotty Arfield, eh?
Right. Good player, really good.
No technically gifted. Well, he is technically gifted. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet, to be honest with you. But all round, he was just a brilliant guy, mate. Eh? And
yeah,
you can tell by the career that he's had, mate. He just went on to bigger and better things. But he's probably one of the most high profile at the minute that everybody will know who I've shared the dressing room with, and just a great all round guy on and off the pitch as well, mate. So I'll throw him out there to get me out of that sticky situation you put me in, pal.
Thank you, Callum. Thank you for your time.
No problem at all, mate. No problem.
This has been the third episode of the LBV podcast. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.